gracias a todos por estar aquí. Ella es Rebecca Kiessling. Did I say it correctly? Perfect. And entonces les quiero contar que si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor mándenlo vía chat. Están todos, ninguno como se puede ver, ningún otro participante puede ver como otro participante. Y ella es una... Ay, perdón, es que estoy un poco nerviosa. Ella se va a introducir, ella es una attorney y nos va a contar un poco de su historia, de lo que ha hecho, y ha hecho unas charlas increíbles y nos va a contar un poco de ella misma. Rebecca, are you...
Hola, soy abogada. It looked like you were looking for the word for attorney.
Yes, abogada, sí, perdón. I'm switching off English and Spanish. Sometimes I get stuck with some words.
Y soy fundadora y presidenta de organización proVida global. Save the One, salvar el 1% de casos difíciles.
Perfecto. Before anything, I want to thank you, Rebecca, for being with us, giving us a chance to know you and know your story. I know you've done a lot of stuff. You've actually talked to a lot of some governors about the abortion, and I know you have a huge story throughout your life from the beginning. So can you tell us how, your story, and then can we go through some questions?
And also, when I visited Chile, I had the opportunity to speak in your parliament.
Really? Oh, you had no idea. So
yeah,
how was that?
And I met with many of your politicians there, senators and diputados.
Wow. And how is that? How is it to sit down with someone who, I mean, they're so educated and they know so well about the topic? I mean, if there's governors, how are you able to convince them and show them the reality of being a pro-choice?
Well, really, mostly my audience is the most effective opportunities are with politicians who say they're pro-life, but they make the rape exception. By the way, do you have anyone translating my words and your words,
no.
or are
afterwards
bilingual?
We're gonna put this and we're gonna put subtitles. So okay. Don't worry about it. And, with the questions, I'm just gonna translate it to them.
Okay. So the easiest people in the world for anybody, whether a politician or not, to change hearts and minds are people who are pro-life but make the rape exception. And they're 99% of the way there. They just haven't put a face to the issue. They really haven't thought about it from the perspective of someone who was conceived in rape, or from the perspective of mothers who become pregnant by rape, who regret aborting, who are raising their children. Save the One is a global pro-life network of over 1,000 of us now who were conceived in rape and mothers from rape. I mean, I literally have a database of over 1,000 with these stories. And it's important that our voices are heard because people make a lot of assumptions. And it's really different when a politician has a face to the issue, so to speak. I find that it's easy to change their hearts.
Wow. I mean, and I have a question for you. I think one of the hardest things to being a pro-choice is how you handle the rape victims and how you handle that type of topic. What are your exact words as to trying to convince someone that even if someone is raped, having an abortion is not the best choice?
Okay, so I guess there's two different questions. I mean, one is how would you speak to a pregnant rape victim? But two is how do you speak to other people who think that you have to make a rape exception. You have to be for abortion in cases of rape. So first of all, for rape victims, the mothers from our organization will tell you that nobody, like my birth mother says, nobody offered her any other help or hope, only abortion. My birth mother went to 2 illegal abortions, and I was almost killed. And she backed out because it was illegal. And when we first met, she was pro-choice and said that it should have been her right to kill me. So I literally owe my birth to the law, which protected me. And today she's thankful that we were both spared from.
Wow, hungry.
But what mothers will tell you is that initially they're really scared. And what they needed was just somebody to give them hope, someone to tell them that you're a good woman. You will be a good mother. I believe in you. You can love this child. A lot of the moms from our organization will say that when they first became pregnant, when they were first raped, they'll say that they felt this darkness, that they felt like a death inside of them. And they oftentimes, rape victims do not engage in self-care. It's very common for a rape victim to vow that she'll never tell another soul that she was raped. And what happens is that with the baby, when she has the baby, that gives her a reason to begin caring for herself and a reason to tell her loved ones what happened, so that she's actually able to get the care, the therapy that she never would have otherwise received if it hadn't been for that baby. The other rape victim moms will tell us that their child ended up being a light inside of this dark, dead body. That, where all they had seen before was darkness, all of a sudden this baby became a light. And that they marveled at the fact that this dead body was now sustaining life and growing life inside of them. And so to a rape victim, I would just really encourage her that, your baby is a sign of hope, and a sign that you can overcome this rape. Your baby is just as innocent as you were. And, this is your baby, not the rapist child, like everyone says, right?
Right.
It's what you hear globally, the rapist child. But this is your child. He has no part of this child whatsoever. And your child is innocent like you were. And a lot of moms will say that they felt like they had a little angel keep them company during their pregnancy, like during their time of healing. And they realized that this child would deliver them. So that's important to know, like, you're not alone, right? I mean, that's one of the things that you tell her, that you're not alone in. Your child's a victim along with you, and you're capable of nurturing and caring. I wasn't protected, and I wasn't able to protect myself from the rape. They felt determined that, what I can do is I can protect my child.
Wow. How strong is that?
And then the ones who have the abortion, who are from our organization, who regret aborting, they will express that more violence in their body, in the exact place where they were traumatized, caused so much more damage. They'll often say that the abortion was far worse than the rape. Wow. Because they were no longer dealing with the violence that was done to them, but not now the violence that they inflicted on their own body and that they inflicted on another innocent person.
Wow, that was passed on. Wow. I thought about it that way. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your story? I read on your website that you have this huge story that I would love you to tell us in person and to our viewers.
So as I said, part of it is that my birth mother had sought to kill me. And my story is not an uplifting, story of a mother who chose life for her child, because she did not. She
Yeah.
chose abortion. But she was,
And how do you feel about that?
oh, it was so painful at the time. When she told me that, I was devastated. You know, I cried out for my worth. I wanted her to see my worth.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 6 years before she changed her mind about abortion. But she did. And she has me now. At least she doesn't have regrets. You know, because
Yeah.
lots of women change their mind about abortion. And if you've had an abortion, now you have nothing but death. You know, and at least if you had your baby, then you know you can place that
Wow.
child for adoption and you have a baby to celebrate and who, you know, to love. Out of her 3 children, I'm the one who honors her. She has no relationship with my older half brother and half sister, who
And
she raised.
when did you first have contact with your mom? And how was that connection?
I was 19. I was 18 when I learned how I was conceived, and 19 when I met her and learned the horrible details. She wanted to meet me, but she told me that she had been abducted at knife point by a serial rapist. And it was brutal rape. It was horrible. She said that when he told her, if you're quiet, you won't get hurt, she thought, I've been through children.
Oh,
And so when he did, she stayed quiet. She went to several police lineups and stopped going because she wouldn't recognize his face. He knew that this was a serial rapist.
oh, how sad.
And
That's horrible.
incidentally, I know who he is now. Through
Mm-hmm.
ancestry DNA, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you can find your biological father through DNA now.
Wow, I had no idea that you, wow.
Tons of people through our organization have found their rapist fathers, you know, through ancestry DNA, 23andMe. I don't know what kind of DNA kits are available
Mm-hmm.
in Chile and the rest of Latin America,
I'm
but
pretty sure they're
it's
just,
become. Hmm?
no, I'm pretty sure they're just online. I've seen that you can get some like DNA traces and everything and some
Yeah,
map.
it's become the #1 hobby in the United States. So it's become extremely popular. And if you have a first cousin
Wow.
and
And I
third,
have another question for you. Yeah, sorry, my internet's kind of lagging. I have another question is, when you met your mom, were you already a pro-choice? Did you talk it through? Did you learn all these experiences because of her, or how?
that's a
Or
good
how?
question. I was pro-life. I was raised by pro-choice
Mhm,
parents, but I was pro-life because of my atheist Jewish grandmother. I was adopted and raised in a Jewish
mhm,
family. And even though they sent me to what's called Hebrew school, it was like religious education, they didn't do any of it at home. And they lived as atheists. But my atheist Jewish grandmother was pro-life. And she began sharing the story how my grandfather had told her to, I never loved him again after that. She'd say, how can they do that? How can they kill the babies? And so I had a face to the issue growing up because that was my aunt who I
mhm.
adored. And my aunt's daughter, when I was 12 and she was 16, my aunt's daughter got pregnant and aborted my grandmother's first great grandchild. And it was such a huge betrayal for my grandmother because she spared the life of my cousin's mother. And
Mhm.
then in turn, she killed her baby. And so this was not just a concept to me, this was very real.
I mean, I imagine uh,
And
being. Mhm. Yes, yes,
I
I'm sorry.
also, yeah, we have a little bit of a lag, I know.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to be an attorney since I was 10 years old. And people would say, oh, like a feminist. And I'd ask, well, what's a feminist? And
Mhm.
they said, oh, it's a woman who fights for, it's like a female attorney and she fights for women's rights. And I thought, well, yeah, I'm pro-woman, right? I like being a strong woman. Sure, yeah, I'm a feminist, And then I started hearing that feminists support abortion. And I
Wow.
heard this when I was maybe 14 years old. And I remember thinking, what does killing babies have to do with being a strong woman?
Mhm.
I thought that makes no sense whatsoever.
I mean, and that's the topic that we have today about feminism and abortion supposedly go hand by hand. When in reality, they're just completely different topics. It's completely different.
In the United States, all of the early feminists were pro-life. They spoke out against abortion.
Wow. Did you have to face a lot of those issues yourself?
Yeah, when I was in law school, my
Mm.
classmates would hiss at me if I would defend the unborn. I'd share my story, and you'd hear them go, like they're saying boo. It was,
Yeah. Awful. Wow.
yeah, they were. And I get called things like rapist child instead of rape victim child. I get called horrible reminder, demon seed, evil seed, Satan spawn, devil's child, monster's child, rape apologist, like I'm defending rape. And I also get called, last year, my daughters and I were called rape trophy. Like we're just a trophy of the rapist. I mean, it's insane. I tell people that you can be pro law enforcement, like the police. You can
Mhm.
be pro police and not be pro crime, right?
Right.
Even
Yes.
though it's true that without crime there'd be no police,
Right.
right?
Right.
Huh? I mean, and that's what they're asking. Oh, without rape, you wouldn't. It's
Honestly,
like, no.
it wouldn't exist.
It's just good can come out of evil. That's the thing. Good overcomes evil.
Yes. Wow, that's a good sentence.
We also, another thing that we tell people is that rapists love abortion.
Rapist what? I'm sorry. I just
Rapists love abortion.
wow, rapist of abortion. Never heard of
They do.
it. Yeah.
And um, pederastas y violadores y
Violadores.
you know, they all love abortion. The sex traffickers, child molesters love abortion.
Yeah.
It destroys the evidence and
Wow.
allows them to continue perpetrating.
Mm-hmm.
We have story after story globally of news articles where the rapists and child molesters and sex traffickers were forcing abortion, taking a girl for an abortion to the abortion clinic or forcing an abortion on her so they could continue raping.
Wow.
And oftentimes then the rapes went on for years with repeat abortions. And all the abortion does is protect the perpetrator, not
Right.
the woman. The baby is the one who protects the woman who reveals the rape and
Mm-hmm.
delivers her out of the abusive situation.
Yeah, it's the evidence.
Yeah.
Wow, I've
Like
never thought that way.
the baby is the hero of the story,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have a young mother. The younger a girl is who's pregnant, the more likely it is that it's a family member or someone in her household who's raping her, and the more likely that it's been going on for years. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the baby who can protect her. And oftentimes her own mother has either been trafficking her or leaving her unprotected and takes her to the abortion clinic to protect her husband or
Wow.
to protect her boyfriend. or
Yeah.
because she's afraid of what people will think, that she was a bad mom and her daughter got pregnant. So she does it to protect her own reputation. But that doesn't protect the girl.
No. Wow. Never thought about it. There's someone who's asking a question, if you don't mind, that it says, do you believe there is a such thing as rape culture? And if so, how does it contribute to the stigma surrounding a child who's a product of rape?
You know, yeah, absolutely. There's rape culture globally. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge problem, and sex trafficking. And actually, abortion is contributing to it because women are losing our voices globally because it's primarily females who are being aborted. And there's become much more of a demand for sex trafficking
Yeah.
because of men who can't find a mate. And you know, and it's crazy because women act like abortion is liberating women, and it's not. It's leading to more sex trafficking. Little girls are kidnapped around the world because there's not enough girls to go around for the men who want them.
Oh.
And it's a huge problem. You know, and of course, pornography is, there's definitely a link between sexually oriented businesses and pornography and rape. There's
Mm-hmm.
tons of studies that demonstrate that. Um, and I think that the child can be the one who can, you know, overcome their own stigma, right? It's
Yeah.
like so many people, you know, would be shamed and don't want anybody to know. But yeah, I know when I first started Save the One, when I started my network, it was 10 years before I met somebody else who was conceived in rape. So I felt completely alone in it for the first 10 years. But I
Mm-hmm.
spoke out. Like I regularly spoke out. I've always been like a brave, you know, young woman,
Yeah, thanks too.
bold, you know, courageous, you know, whatever. Nobody's going to scare me, right?
I admire
You
you
know,
for that.
thanks. You know, but I mean, what do I have to lose? Like, my life is not at risk. So I might get a little bit of ridicule, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Okay, I'm a big girl, I can handle it. Um, but I started this network and I had people who wanted to translate our stories. We actually have a translator who's from Chile, Fabiola Torres.
Oh,
And then we have, there was a young man who first started translating our stories like more than 10 years ago from Argentina,
mm-hmm.
Juan Francisco Suarez. And he was only 19 years old. And he
Wow.
saw my website with all these stories and he asked permission to translate mine and others. So I ended up on my website having a whole bunch of stories in Spanish. And then more people started contacting me from Spain, from all over Latin America, asking like, hey, can I help translate more stories? And then we said, like, we just need to start a Spanish division.
Mm-hmm.
I said that there's women all over Latin America, you know, and Spain who were also conceived in rape or who became pregnant by rape, and men conceived in rape. And I said, you know, we could be sharing their stories. And all of them said, no, culturally, it's different. People don't share, you
Uh-huh.
know, no, that's not going to happen. Just everybody knows like America's different, like United States is different. You know, you guys are much more open and share more than we do. Okay. And I said, no, no, no. I know that more people will. When they see others share the difficult story, it gives them the courage to come forward and tell their story and say, me too. And so what happened is we started this Spanish page. There, in just like 4 years, we have over 93,000 followers on Salvador Uno. We don't pay for people to like our page. That's just organic. And we started having women come forward messaging us saying, this is my story. And last year we got a book published with over 70 stories.
Wow.
It is published in Spanish called Cada Vida Importa. testimonials, proVida, and half of the stories are from
Wow.
Latin America.
How strong.
So, but
Mhm.
it takes the network, and it takes people having the courage to just come forward and say, this is my story too. And that's how you'll end that stigmatization.
Mhm. Wow. I mean, it's true. If you hear someone speaking out, it motivates the rest saying, you know what, it's my turn to just come forward and show my story itself. And I feel like in this year, at least, or these past years, it's happened to that. You know, a lot of people have opened themselves, and I mean, women have talked about their stories, and more women have come forward. Someone's asking a question here that says, can you tell us a little bit about the work you do in pro-life movement in the United States? Maybe a little bit of your organization.
Sure. I mean, I do it. It's not just the United States. We do it globally. I speak all over the world. I've spoken in parliaments all over the world.
Mhm.
Our stories are translated into many different languages, and we get published in different, publications around the globe. Um, and it's important because there's no other organization doing this.
Mhm.
So we specialize in defending all of the so-called difficult cases through our personal story.
Okay.
But how would you like to be called a difficult case?
What
You
what
know,
would I?
how would you like to be called a difficult case?
How would I?
I
Yeah.
mean, this is what we're called, and they treat us as being the difficult case. Like,
Right.
no, the difficult cases are all the people with the hardened hearts. They have difficult hearts where they're not open to being welcoming and loving and accepting. I would be more accepted if I, had a sex change, right?
Right.
I would be welcomed and accepted, but I tell people I'm conceived in rape, and all of a sudden it's
Is there just?
like we're the only people group that globally it's politically acceptable, it's socially acceptable to bash and to
Mhm.
call us names. No other people group are you allowed to call them names. And nobody should be called names. Like every life is valuable, every life.
Mhm.
And so we tell our stories. We publish blogs. We have over 250 in English,
Wow.
and we get them translated in Spanish, and then the Spanish ones get translated into English.
Yeah.
And we do videos. We've got social media, Facebook, Save the One, and Salvar Uno, and we've got Salve o 1%. That's the Portuguese one. And what else? We've got we have the book I told you about, and we also train speakers. We have 80 speakers in our training support group. A couple
Mhm.
of them are from Latin America, and we also have support groups for people who were conceived, for women conceived in rape. We have a separate support group for men conceived in rape, like all via Facebook.
Yeah.
Private groups, and then we have a private group for all the moms who are raising their children, a private group for women who
Mhm.
regret aborting after rape,
Wow.
and then we have geographical groups. So we have Save the One Africa, Save the One European Union, um, and Save the One Canada, and then we have it for different states, United States, and then we have a group just for everybody who speaks Spanish.
Mhm. Well, congratulations. I mean, you went from international and all over. Someone asked a question here is how are the movements of pro-choice in the United States, and is the new generation more defending pro-choice, or have you seen more the newer generations going into pro-life? Who are the ones who are fighting the most?
In the United States, we have more people than ever. We've had a majority of people in the United States, maybe the last 20 years, calling themselves pro-life. Okay, and then number keeps growing.
Like, sorry,
So,
not pro-choice. Sorry.
and So more and more people are calling themselves, more and more young people are calling themselves pro-life.
Mhm.
There's kind of a problem though, where people will they'll call themselves pro-life, but if you ask them, do you think abortion should be illegal?
Mhm.
They'll change their views. So like pro-life to them doesn't mean like the same thing to me, you know?
Right.
I mean, to me, pro-life means that you understand not just that you don't
Mhm.
like abortion, it's not just saying that you think abortion's wrong, it's understanding that it should be illegal, that these children should be protected.
Mhm. Well, that is true. And another question here that they ask is, and one of the hardest arguments you can say is how do you explain to someone that the baby you have inside during since you know the beginning of the weeks is an actual baby and not just a sack of cells that does not have a life? How do you?
Yeah. See, I think that's so anti-science when people say, well,
Yeah.
that's not a life. And it's like the science is that this is a living human being. They are very
Mhm.
much alive. Okay, there's no question they are alive. Look at the definition of
What is
what it
that?
means to be alive. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they are a life form, okay? You know, you learn this in science, like the difference between something that's life form versus just, inorganic matter, like
Yeah.
it's science, okay? And then the question of whether this is a human being, again, science. You know, you can check their DNA. They are living human beings. Even frozen embryos
Mm-hmm. All right.
are living human beings. And that's one that sometimes even pro-lifers like get confused on. They'll say, well, frozen embryos aren't alive. What do you think, they're dead? Of course they're alive. They're
Uh-huh.
alive. And the fertility industry depends on the fact that these are living human beings, because if you're freezing something and then you're transferring that something into a woman's body, and if that's not a living human being that you're
Mhm.
transferring into her body, you're not going to make any money, and you're going to be in big trouble, right? They're going to get sued and they'll
Right.
never make any money if they're transferring anything other than a living human being into her body.
Mhm.
So this is, I like to describe things that way because it shows the absurdity of their position. I
Mhm.
feel like describing a word picture, giving a good example of the absurdity of it helps people to understand where the lights suddenly go on, because you take it from discussing something that seems philosophical to now something really practical and tangible. Can
Like something we
fertility, yeah, can fertility doctors make money if they're not transferring living human beings?
I mean, it's true. If not, they're already being sued.
you know One of the things I'll do sometimes is I'll show people, because I like to make people laugh, because it relaxes them, it brings their guard down, and you actually have a chance to reach them. So I'll show people, like, look, look, the no horns. There's no horns, and then I'll show no tail. And they laugh, but it's because it's so absurd to suggest that I'm like Satan's spawn, right? So, and I'll tell them, like, I was innocent. And one thing I'll ask people when they say they support abortion in cases of rape, I'll say, so let me ask you, do you support having politicians, like, do you support in the law authorizing rape victims to pay someone to kill her rapist,
Wow.
or just her innocent child? And that makes people think, because can you imagine the outrage of men if you tried to pass a law that would allow any woman to hire a paid assassin
Okay.
to go kill a man
Mm-hmm.
who she says raped her. Men would be like, whoa, 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 like, hey, slow down, right?
Down, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it is. You're talking about her being able to pay an assassin. And that's what the abortion industry is. They're
Mm-hmm.
paid to kill people. But not even to kill her rapist, to be able to kill her innocent child. No due process, no right to trial, no evidence, nothing. She just goes right in and she gets to kill her baby. And I know you have the 3 exceptions in Chile now.
Mm-hmm.
And she could just go in, say rape. It's like a secret password. Just say the word rape and she can kill her baby. Can
Yeah.
you imagine if you could have those for being able to kill a man? Just say rape, pay someone to kill him.
That would
Just
be
say rape.
ridiculous. People would be furious to just kill rapists.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
the United States, our Supreme Court said that rapists don't deserve the death penalty. And in a second case, they said even child molesters do not deserve the death penalty. So how did I, the innocent child, deserve the death penalty for his crime?
Wow. How strong. And I have I have a couple of questions here that the audience wants to ask. And one is, which is your go-to sentence when you're having an argument? Which is your sentence that you would say is your strongest one that leaves, I don't know, someone speechless, or that helps you out with your argument?
Well, I think asking a question helps because the other person has to think about it and they have to respond. So you ask them, do you believe rapists deserve the death penalty?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's a good start. Or asking them, do you think rape victims should be allowed to pay someone to kill her rapist? No
Mm-hmm.
trial, no nothing. Would you allow that? Do you think that's right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then when they say, well, you know, like that's not a baby or something like that, or that's not a living human being. Well, of course, if it's not a baby, she's not pregnant, then there's no problem. There's no issue, right? If you're not a baby, if it's not a baby, you're not pregnant.
That is true. And can I ask you some other questions? Here they're asking that what advice will you give Chile if we consider that we are a decade or so behind in abortion legislation and the abortionist culture that supports it? What preventions or things could we do just to help out the pro-lives or the baby?
So you need to have more pregnancy resource centers in Chile. I visited one when I was there, and there were a whole bunch of pregnant young women and women with their babies there. And it was a wonderful home that I got to visit.
Mm-hmm.
But you need more of those. There's not enough. We have a lot more in the United States. And all it takes is one person caring about it and saying, I need to do this. I need to start a pregnancy center. Even if you just start it as being a free pregnancy testing, or a clothing closet where she can get free maternity clothes and free diapers. And to me, every church should have one. Every church should have this. But it doesn't. You can do it in the community. Just do it yourself if your church isn't doing it. But just start a network where, and nowadays, sometimes you don't even need a building, because you can have, you could do virtual. Do you know what a baby shower is in the United States? We call it a baby shower.
I know what a baby shower is. And I'm pretty sure just because of the movies we have, and I'm pretty sure there are some baby showers in Chile.
Okay, so we have these baby registries where you can register at Amazon.com for baby clothes and all the needs that a woman has for having a baby. Do you have where you can order, where you can register to get gifts
Oh no, I had no idea that you could. I'm pretty sure in Chile they just go with the gifts, not register them. So how does that work? Can you explain a little bit?
There's online gift registries, so you don't have like Amazon.com and
No,
where you can
we
register.
we have Amazon.com, but the thing is that it's expensive, and not only that, it takes sometimes months or weeks for it to get. It's not like in the US that you just order it and the next day it's in your door.
Well, not during COVID
No,
quarantine.
no, of course.
Takes a month or two. Yeah. No, it was bad. But do you have any stores like that where you register online?
I'm pretty sure, yes, we do, but it's in Falabella, I'm pretty sure they have one, but for weddings. There we go.
Okay, so you could start that where you have the same thing and
Mhm.
everything is done online, but instead of doing it for weddings, you do it for babies.
Baby shower.
And so what we do is we do virtual baby showers.
Mm.
So we do it for rape victims who are pregnant. We'll do a virtual baby shower through Save the One Facebook. And
Uh-huh.
people all over the United States will buy her gifts and then it
Oh.
gets shipped to her, you know?
Mhm.
So even if you don't have a building where you can store items to donate, you can do virtually. There's a lot that you can do, you know?
Mhm.
So you can be creative, but I really believe that you need more pregnancy resources
Mhm.
like we have in the United States. And we have two international organizations. We have one called
Uh-huh.
Heartbeat International. And so they help to open up pregnancy centers in other countries. And then the other one is CareNet International.
Okay, perfect.
And you could be the one, you know, anybody listening could be the one to start this in where they live.
Mhm. And it's very off your hand. You go to the computer, it's not physical that you just can help out, but
And
just
women love
online.
babies, right? Any woman loves babies. There's even
Of
there's
course.
lots of pro-choice women who are willing to support that.
Mhm.
Women who think abortion should be illegal, but they don't like abortion and they have compassion. Oh, there's this poor woman who needs help right now. She really doesn't want to have an abortion, and you know her boyfriend left her, and she needs to. Like, there's a lot of it. I'll help her. I'll send her some diapers. You know,
Mhm.
and you can do that virtually while maintaining the privacy, you know, not revealing the identity of the woman, right? Because
Right.
they may need privacy, right?
Of course.
So
Totally understand.
there's ways to do that.
Mhm. And can this is the last question, just because we're like running time. That someone's asked. I'm a 18-year-old, and I would like to consider myself pro-life. However, through research, I found some good in pro-choice laws. Places such as Norway have a lower abortion rate, and compared to places such as El Salvador, where abortion is illegal. Can I truly call myself pro-choicer in the moral dilemma? If not, what can I do and where can I look for evidence that helps me understand why abortion should be illegal?
Okay, that's a good question. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, we're, we all want to have compassion for pregnant women, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the starting point is that we all care about pregnant women, and it's a question of like what the solution is for her. And so I understand that there's a lot of people who are coming from that place of compassion and they think abortion's the answer.
Mhm.
But it is, you know, it's more violence in her body,
Mhm.
and women are losing their voices globally. Uh, there's a huge disparity in many nations, many communities between male and female, and we're seeing it in the United States as well. So, and then, you know, there's a link between abortion and breast cancer. So, just from a women's perspective, um, I'm very concerned about, you know, women and being protected from abortion. After abortion, women are 4 times more likely to die within the next year. There's
Wow.
studies that show that they have a higher rate of they have a higher rate abuse, domestic violence, suicide, drug overdose, murder. Um, it's, there's serious issues that are caused, and then oftentimes it also makes women become very hardened, and it fundamentally changes who they are, because either they have to break down and have this regret and go through the pain of acknowledging the regret, which is not easy,
Not at all.
because it's like, what are you going to do with that if you have that kind of pain? Like, you need to have some, faith, really, to be able to overcome that kind of regret, because you can't get your baby back, not you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or they become hard their abortion. And so I think it really fundamentally changes who women are. Um, but it's violent, and there's a lot of women who are permanently scarred by their abortion physically, where the only child they ever had was the child that they aborted.
Mm-hmm.
And and then one of the tenets of feminism was nonviolence. Traditionally, it was like nonviolence, right? That's what made us different.
Mm-hmm.
That we, historically, right? We're the
Right.
ones, not the ones who would go to war. We're not the ones who would, go to prison for violent crimes. That we're typically not the serial killers. And that's one thing that set women apart from men, was that we're not typically, as violent
Yeah.
as some men, right? And
Right.
but you're violating that with abortion.
Right.
We're becoming, honestly, the mass murderers, the most violent, with the serial killers,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
That sounds. And talking about men, how important do you think men are in the abortion debate? Because a lot of women say, "Oh, it's my body, it's my decision." Like, men do not have any argument, but the child was, I mean, made from both. So what's your opinion within that?
Well, I do think that men need to speak up. I
Mm-hmm.
think their voices are important. Um, you know, I, I believe that men have a duty to protect. They're supposed to be the defenders, so to speak. Women, oftentimes, I believe in those rules, that women are the nurturers. We're the ones who are loving
Right.
and caring. But I also feel that men have a role to defend. And I think that when we have weak men, you know, a lot of bad things can happen. I want men to care about injustices. I want men to speak out against, whether it's racial injustice,
Mm-hmm.
or um, there's times in my life when I'm under attack and people are saying horrible things, and
Right.
I love when a man steps in and defends me, defends my honor, you know and I feel that men have a role. There's a lot of women, don't let the so-called feminists, who are, vile and cruel, and they're giving the
Mm-hmm.
middle finger, and they're,
Yeah.
you know
They're the
they're
one who
taking
has
their
the
time.
hate within themselves.
Yeah, don't let them bully you. Don't let them scare you out of speaking up. Step up to your role. And there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of women who are grateful. Like, even if they're silent, because sometimes women are silent on Facebook or social media, Instagram, because they're just afraid to say something, because they can't handle that kind of attack. Stand up and defend. And there's going to be a lot of silent women who are extremely grateful for your voice.
No, I can imagine. Well, now that we're almost towards the end, I want to ask. This is the last thing that I'm gonna ask you. What is your final, not guide, final, ay, ¿cómo se dice? What is your how? Wait, I'm having an error. Okay, what will be your final like hope you can say? I don't know how to express myself. Your hope or your final sentence that you can say, you know, what with this you guys can go and be a pro-life. What is your final sentence you can say? Or final
Okay,
guidance?
so I will tell you that this is like from the speech that I gave when I was in Chile and Peru and you know, I spoke in Brazil and Mexico and all over. And I know, and even in Malta, and I know that there's a lot of like the sense that there's people will say from other nations like that you're antiquated, right?
Mhm.
Antiquado, because you know, they'll say that they're progressive,
Right.
right? That they're, you know, progresista, like, oh, like that they're above you because they're like progressive.
Yeah.
No, I tell people that I remind them of history, that child sacrifice is what's antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Remember that. Child sacrifice is as old as the earth, okay? It's child sacrifice that's antiquated. It is not progressive to be killing babies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the ones who are progressive who say that child sacrifice is wrong, it's barbaric.
Yeah.
And they'll accuse you of being barbaric to say that you're going to force a rape victim to carry, you know, the rapist child. No, what's barbaric is killing an innocent person for someone else's crime. In the
Mm-hmm.
civilized society, you do not punish innocent people for someone else's crime or for someone else's behavior, their reckless behavior. You know, that's barbaric. And you just need to remember people that to remind yourself and to remind others that you are the one who's progressive. You are the one who is civilized.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones who are barbaric and antiquated.
Wow, wise words, wise words. I love that. And now I want to thank you for everything, for your story, for sharing everything about you. I love the topic and everything, and I feel like I've learned a lot from you. And